you're basically limiting what people can do and their freedoms and their choices. In that case, it would be a choice, obviously.
No, that is. I'm sorry, that is not true. Can I respond to that? I'm sorry.
Really quick.
Okay, so
no.
Go ahead.
I want to speak, and then you can speak. Pedro, just because you have sex with people of both sex does not make you bi. It just does not. Being bisexual means you have sexual attraction to people of both sex. The act of engaging in sex does not make you straight or bi.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gay,
because otherwise that would mean that a straight man who was raped.
Yeah, because we're talking about orientation. That's different than the actual act of. It's not one and the same.
Right, but I mean, like you said, if you're a gay man and you have sex with a woman to procreate once, you're not bi. You're still gay. It is just like So I mean,
but it's not just limited to procreation, though. It happens all the time in sex industry. There's a lot of gay male porn stars who will shoot straight scenes because
vice versa.
They last longer and they get to draw a big audience. And it has nothing to do with
part of their job.
I know somebody who's gay for pay.
This is not a difficult concept to get. If my doctor says to me that you have to eat bananas because you need the potassium, and I fucking hate bananas, and then I go and eat one because the doctor told me to, it doesn't mean I like bananas.
Yeah, it's a great analogy.
Yeah,
I don't know what Samir found disagreeable with anything anybody said, though. It's pretty straightforward.
What do you have, Samir? I interrupted you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I don't like to interrupt anyone. So here's the point I was trying to make. And I'm pretty sure Rob would agree. We have no problem with gay people as people. We actually love these people because in our religious beliefs, we believe that it's better for them this way and we want what's best for them, but we can't force it onto them. So let's close this parenthesis. Now the question is, are we going to be treated equally? So let's say they want to have same-sex marriage, they don't want to have kids. I want to get married, I want to have a child, I want to raise my child to be straight. Is there a problem with that? I don't believe anyone should get involved. Like I don't get involved in anyone's life. Now here's my question. Now, when I raise my child to be straight and I send my child to school, now why? Because my daughter or my son believes what I taught him. Now the parent is called homophobic.
Well,
so,
let me address that real quick, Samir. Let me tell you as a parent. But I can tell you right now, you're going to have no say or choice what your child is if you have a child, whether they're gay or not. You can't raise somebody straight. You can't raise somebody gay. It's a fundamental misunderstanding. They're going to be what they are, and you're not going to have any say in the matter whatsoever.
No, they will be. I agree that they will be affected by what the society is.
Does that make you an anti-dentite?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said, but I said I agree that they will be affected, but whatever the society consensus is, I mean, there is no running away from that. But do I have the right to raise my child to be straight?
I don't know what that means.
Can't. How do you do that?
I think you can raise your child to influence. You can influence them in that direction, but you can't choose their orientation. I think that's what the other panelists are saying. Am I right?
No. What I'm saying is talking to my child about growing and getting married and having kids and me becoming a grandparent and things like that.
I didn't even see anything in there. I'm sorry. Hey, bud. Wow.
Do you mind if I jump in? I want to share.
Sorry, I don't do Discord for a while.
Yeah. Really,
Mayor, are you Christian?
No.
No, I'm not. I'm Muslim.
Okay,
really quick.
We'll help you out there.
Really quick. I want to get Issa in here. So go ahead, Issa.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Shukran. So I wanted to engage this point. I think what Samir is trying to share is not about raising someone straight, because I don't think that's something you can do, but it's more like when you're in school, you can have influences and controls within the school. So if the school has a certain kind of bias, they may expose the children to things that the parents don't want their children to be exposed to, that may have certain ramifications on the children. And I think this is the point that's being brought up.
100%. Yeah, I'm the same way, man. I am totally anti-woke stuff. I think that you're going to school, learn reading, writing, arithmetic. Look, I'm Gen X, so things are a lot different. I remember some things about kindergarten and preschool. But if we were being taught, this what pronouns to use and gay sex and all this other. There was the art teaching in elementary school. I would have been livid. I didn't want my kid to have any. It's not the place for that, because those teachers aren't trying to indoctrinate the students into their own political, ideological, woke beliefs. That's not what they're there for. So if that's the case, what he means by that, then I would agree with Samir wholeheartedly. But I think we do it for different reasons. Mine's not. But my belief on that has nothing to do with the religious bias.
Schools aren't doing that. But schools aren't doing that to children. That's bullshit. Like schools are. No, they aren't. Just because you explain, just wait. Just because you explain what different type of sexual orientations are, different type of genders are, doesn't mean you're encouraging.
In third grade, that's not appropriate.
Well, you might have an.
That doesn't mean you're encouraging people. And I don't know, third grade, like. Where is it happening in a third grade? If it's happening somewhere, maybe there's a reason for it. I'm not the expert.
Well,
I'm telling you, go look at these books that are out there, and I'm not making this up. Go look at these books. They're in the public. In the library.
I've seen some of the books. Some of the books are written for 15 years old.
No,
and people on the other side push them as if they're written for children.
It says for third grade. It said literally it'll say kindergarten, first grade, second grade. I've looked at. I've done.
So somebody writes a book. That means they're teaching in a school.
Yes, they actually have used these in the curriculum.
Well,
I'm not joking with this.
So then you need to show that.
Activist teachers. I do think there are activist teachers that bring their activism outside of protests and stuff, and because that's we are humans and we bring our stuff with us, but some folks don't know where you need to like hang up your coat when you come in,
right?
And that's an issue. Like there is activism that comes in. I think that's a fair point. But this is why people get so offended, is because people bring their activism into spaces that they shouldn't bring their activism in.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. Let's say it's not just problem is it's not just strictly even activism, because have you listened to the boards where these teachers go to the board and say, why do we have this in your library? Why is this book here? And they'll read from it, and they'll actually tell the teachers, the parent, you cannot read that in here because it's not appropriate, but it's appropriate enough to be in the library. And their books on this very thing.
It's anecdotal too, so I'd have to see the specific case. But just because, so if the teachers are violating the curriculum for the school, they could be fired. So if we have state standards,
but they're not.
Well, that's a problem with the enforcement of the rules for that state. That's a different problem. But we don't have laws in place where we can encourage children to be in one sexual orientation or the other. If teachers are engaging in some type of manipulation, or parents, I might add, and I do think that we should step in when children are being abused by their parents. What Samir said otherwise, I disagree with that in the first place. But so this isn't happening. Is it appropriate to teach 8-year-olds about biology, about these different issues? Yes, because that way they can report these issues, and you teach them how to report those issues when they have them.
Nobody's advocating that children should be completely sexually ignorant, especially where it comes to being able to identify sexually inappropriate behavior being directed towards them. That's not the argument that's being made. That being said, be it in the school system or on social media, culturally, there is something that is occurring right now that is giving us an end result that doesn't seem to scale with what we have seen historically. So just as a for instance, and there's you're gonna have to forgive me here because I'm not going to cite a specific source, but we do seem to be replete with examples. There's a school in Brighton and Hove, which is sort of the UK equivalent of Portland. The school has 420 pupils in it or so, and 70 or 80 of those pupils identify as some sort of variation of transgender, pansexual, bisexual. That's a massive statistical outlier, and the information has to have been ported. I'm sorry, this is the equivalent of a K through 12 school, so all of these kids are at the age of 11 or under. So this is a massive statistical outlier in terms of how they quote unquote identify. I don't even know why you would ask an 11-year-old how they identify under that set of
This just seems
why would you even ask the question? How does that data set even exist in the first place?
Well, it doesn't have to necessarily be the school. It could be the community of the children who encourage each other.
It could be a trend on TikTok, for all I know. I'm not blaming teachers specifically, but there is some sort of cultural affectation that's affecting how they. And I don't think it's because they're actually transgender or because they're actually bi. I think it's some sort of like. It's like a social contagion of some kind.
It's what's wrong with cultural norms being different in different locations, changing?
We're talking about what we taught in school, though, right? Imagine this, Ozian.
But you don't know if this is school teaching them or if it's social.
No. Listen. But the teachers are doing this. So give me an example. In Texas, a lot of people in Texas.
No, I'm not. No, wait. You're conflating two issues now because John was talking about a specific issue where 60 to 80% of the students in the school. Now you're bringing another example. So if we stick on this example.
As in what you've just cited wasn't completely correct. It wasn't 60 to 70%. It was 60 to 70 pupils out of 400. I don't want to, just for the sake of accuracy.
60,
it wasn't a percentage. It was let's
say it's 15% or something like that. So 15% of the children identified as something other than cis.
Like again, I'm not remembering the numbers, but it was.
Let's just pretend it is.
Yeah.
So you don't. But we could go to Texas Nest, but let's address this.
Well, it doesn't matter. Any state, it doesn't matter. Pick a state.
You have to show it's the you have to show it's the teacher's influence.
I want to give you an example, an analogy. We all agree young Earth creationism is false here, I would hope, for the most part. Okay, I think Rob is the only one that doesn't. Okay, so let's say you had a child that was in elementary school, and their teacher, who is a young creationist, were telling them that birds are not dinosaurs. Okay, this happens. You know this happens. You've looked into this stuff. This does happen, but those teachers are still teachers there. They're activists there, sure. And so that's let's assume, forget everything else. Let's assume that the ones that are doing the woke things are the same thing. They're just being activists in their schools rather than a kind of formal agenda, but they're still happening. You can't to deny that is just bizarre. It happens a lot.
I'm not denying there's bad teachers. Like, yes, there's bad teachers. There could be teachers in Texas that are teaching the evolution wrong. I agree with that. Or teaching young Earth creationism. So should they be
fired?
Yeah, if they're violating their rules of employment, they should be fired. But this is the other thing. Like, so let's go back to the UK or this other school. Let's say it's 10 to 15% of the students are identifying as non-cis. Who cares in the first place if it is? You don't know if it is based upon the teachers doing inappropriately trying to convince the children there's something other than cis, or maybe they're explaining the concepts like inappropriate or like in a confused manner, and the children don't quite understand them. That could be another issue, or it's just a meme, right? It could be a cultural meme that's influenced the children in that area. Either way, why does it matter if they don't identify as cis, even if it's 20% or 80%?
Well, let them
so the reason I raised it is because there's multiple things going on at the same time. So there's this cultural ascendance of children identifying outside of one of the two traditional sexes and or genders, depending on how you define those terms. But then we're also in a situation where self-identification without any is set on a pedestal. It is given a priority, and then we're also in the situation where we do have examples of content that is being introduced with on the guise of affirming this self-identification that potentially isn't appropriate for the children concerned.
Yeah, and raise your hand.
Do you mind if I share something?
Shane wants to speak too. He's been trying to speak.
Oh, do you mind to just quickly? Sorry, I'm
go
ahead.
It's a
little difficult, so I just wanted to pitch this in too. Thank you very much. I'm so sorry about this. I think the issue too that we need to consider, what I'm hearing a lot of the voices being stated, is that there's a certain kind of cultural milieu that is kind of a response to something that wasn't healthy before. Did people have different kinds of identities? Yes. And was that repressed? Yes. I work in diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is actually something that's really a part of my life. So it's an important thing. But the problem is in a lot of spaces it can get misused. and it can be there's an overcorrection. That's the term. There's overcorrection. So what happens is there are people, it's a very small minority of people who have different kind of identity markers that exist, and they need to be supported and understood. But the issue is when people are exploring their identity and figuring out who they are as people, especially when they're really young, they don't really know yet. So there's a good chance that a lot of these people may fit into certain kinds of standards, but they don't know that yet. But then there can be the societal pressure that pushes them into a certain kind of identification that they didn't actually choose, that they really didn't choose for themselves. And these things can exist within schools, within like media, and these types of elements can be deeply problematic. And I think that that's the element where parents are kind of really afraid, where they're like, hey, I didn't sign up for my kids to be pushed into this situation. I didn't even know this. My kid probably wouldn't have behaved this way if they were in a different kind of space. But because this space was overcorrecting and kind of pushing a certain kind of identity politic, now my child is dealing with these certain kind of identity politics. That's the point.
I completely agree with you. And one of sort of a big part of gender, or a big part of like the first indications of sort of young children that are being essentially bestowed with their sexual drive by going through the stages of puberty, for example, they will position themselves in society based on who they are attracted to. So if they perceive themselves as being attracted to the same sex, then at this point in time, they might be told that they're gay, and they might be told that they're trans, and the information that they're given at that particular time will very much depend on the position that the teacher holds that they're speaking to, or the parent holds that they're speaking to, and they're being steered down the trans path or the gay path. And unfortunately, there are significant portions of the gay community that feel that there are plenty of gay people who exist today who look at the current social milieu, as you put it, and are seriously worried that they would potentially have been identified as trans rather than gay, and they wouldn't be the people that they are today because they were artificially steered.
Right. That's a big problem, actually. I mean, a lot of people that would normally just been gay, were told they're trans, and it just altered their entire life.
It's a very small percentage of people that, like, usually if they do it as a child, they decide before they start doing any transition therapy, but it's a very small people that regret transition.
Well, but that's not necessarily true. The two studies they did were basically mostly for children, and they're short-term studies. We don't know what the long-term effects. We've only had these operations around for a little while.
Then you don't know. Then you now we can go on into studies.
That's the point.
Otherwise it's just anecdotal.
But that's the point they're arguing, that they're doing these irreversible surgeries and they don't know. That's
irreversible surgeries to adults. How many minors have had surgery done?
In
a dozen?
No, in 2021, I think it was 600 or 700 women had double mastectomy, or kids, people under the age of 18 had double mastectomies for gender.
Setting
a
aside
very small percentage, like
600 or 700 is a lot of people.
It's statistically zero. Statistically zero.
So now we're appealing to statistics. I think of one person, I mean, what? That's like saying, the death of one person is a tragedy. The death of a million is a statistic. I mean,
what's the percentage of those 600 people regretted the double mastectomy after the fact?
A lot.
How do you know that?
I think because they're suing. They're suing their doctors.
What percentage are suing?
I don't have the exact number, but the fact that I think 2,000 people in UK are suing right now on a class action lawsuit.
But that's 3.5 times 600, so we're talking.
So basically, in the UK we have the gender GIDS is what it was called, the gender clinic in the United Kingdom. Two bases that it was operating out of. One was the Tavistock in London, and there was another one in
Tavistock was closed.
Yeah, so the Tavistock, it's still open, but it is scheduled to be closed.
It's closing. I'm sorry, my bad. You're right.
It's closing, yeah. We've got somewhere between 1,000 and 1,300 minors, specifically minors. They didn't just treat minors, but it is specifically minors that are currently in the sort of UK equivalent of a class action lawsuit against the Tavistock for basically gross misconduct, because these children were put on to things like puberty blockers and hormone replacement, where some of them had only received a few hours of therapy from child psychologists. Yeah. So the due diligence wasn't done before pharmacology was deployed.
So that's malpractice. So they can sue for malpractice.
Yeah, which is exactly what's happening. But that's because they're treating patients on an ideological axis rather than actually treating the patient.
And they were all children. They were all children.
Yeah, these are
minus under the age of 18.
There have been instances where people have gone in. They say, "Hey, I want to get on testosterone," and they write them a script right there. They don't ask anything psychologically about it or anything else. They just say, "Oh, here it is."
So my concern around this specific, I mean, I wasn't expecting to deviate into this topic, to be honest with you.
I know we're way off topic.
Yeah, well, I thought it was supposed to be the after show of the.
It was.
That's okay.
But my concern about this is that of the children that identify as being transgender in some way, shape, or form, if the children are given puberty blockers, then somewhere in the region of 85 to 90% of them go on to receive hormone replacement therapy. Now, the distinction for those that aren't aware between hormone replacement therapy and puberty blockers suspends or delays puberty, whereas hormone therapy is designed to give you the hormonal profile of the opposing biological sex
for the rest of your life.
In this context.
Well, you can go off of hormone. You can go off of HRT too.
Real quick.
Well, yeah, but you can, but if it's given to you at the point at which you're developing your secondary sexual characteristics,
right? That's irreversible.
It has permanent impact.
Yeah. So somebody had mentioned this, and let me say,
depending on how long you're on puberty blockers, that can have an impact in terms of things like bone density.
This is a bad argument. Somebody says, I had a 16-year-old friend get breast augmentation. Was that wrong? Breast augmentation is reversible. Double mastectomies are not. It's a different type of tissue that they're working with.
Sure.
Completely different. So it's a very bad analogy. I do want to ask the guy with the that does the DEI. Is he still here? Something? Or did he leave?
He left. Who?
Whoever was talking about working with DEI.
Isa is
That's
here.
Me. I'm here.
Okay. All right. So
you seem to be fixated.
I just want to say that all these policies start off with good intent. I'm old, man. I've been around a long time. I remember back in the days of affirmative action, the civil rights era, just coming out of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. I was born like 6 years later. I've seen the effects, and all these things have well-intended things. It was multiculturalism, diversifications. But DEI tends to be a lot more prescriptive, a lot more business invasive. And I don't know if you've seen some of the like you said, things have gone too far in some businesses. You even pointed that out, that DEI has gone to an extreme. It's just basically beyond measure when you're all of a sudden hiring diversifications based upon a particular standard that you think they have rather than the ability to do the job. And it is a fact that some businesses have suffered from this, of quality, of economic loss, because they're no longer hiring the best candidate, but they're hiring it on DEI mandates. Actual mandates. There's a scorecard for this, as you know. And that's especially real quick. I just finish. Especially when you're dealing with safety. The biggest issue with DEI right now is in the aviation industry. And I don't know if you just recently watched the commercial that Virgin Airline had, but holy Christ Almighty, they're worried about the people wearing skirts or whatever, but they have planes that are unsafe to fly, and they have pilots that are unsafe to fly. This is a problem because of these mandates.
So diversity, equity, and inclusion is not just like what clothes you wear. It's being if you have authentic diversity, equity, inclusion, it's different kinds of ideas, different kinds of religions. It's and actually,
right? But we just used to call that getting along with each other, and that's just the Gen X always did this. We didn't need.
Sure, no, I totally hear that. But there is one.
Well, we did need it for a while because we had
sure, yeah,
Jim Crow's longs.
Yeah, boomers.
I do want to engage one point though. This idea of this weird idea of meritocracy that we think that people. I think first of all, the capitalism is a very problematic system that we have that we're stuck in. That isn't.
You're a Marxist, right?
I didn't say I'm a Marxist. I take sort of a balanced approach. But the point is, I think that we capitalism has value, but it's also the problem is we need a a social system that has different avenues, that has different systems.
I don't want to go into.
I don't disagree with you, by the way. I don't. Well, it's okay. I don't disagree. Capitalism has issues. I still think it's the best. But I think I think that we'll eventually have to find a different system because this system is broke right now.
I have
inclusion.
I have a $5 super chat though. I do think we'll push against this from Robin Webster again. Thank you very much, Robin. I argue this all the time, so that she's speaking for me in this also.
All right, this time I'm heading out for good. My thing got postponed to 8 p.m.
Yeah, I got to
get
this too.
All right, see you guys.
Right. Thank you, Rob. To see you.
If you answer the last super chat, because I'll just be speaking to myself then. But anyways, do you think we see more people identifying today that maybe they were there all the time and that religious people have been persecuting them and suppressing their numbers? Morality BS. I think Issa touched on this too. Maybe there's been a cultural overcorrection. I don't know. Maybe we're still not corrected enough. Maybe the natural proclivity for trans within society is higher than it actually is today. Maybe it is 15%. Like,
I think we've overcorrected. I think we've way overcorrected, and I think the pendulum's swinging back the other way.
Well, I don't think we can know.
I don't think that's necessarily the case, because if you look at permissive and progressive societies, the numbers don't necessarily line up in terms of the sort of the people that are essentially coming forward and going, I'm this, I'm that, I'm the other. And we also see, when you see these sort of blooms of children that are saying I'm this, I'm that, I'm the other, it appears to happen in a self-reinforcing context. So I think if you want to make the argument that actually society was very conservative and straight-laced and these people didn't feel that they were comfortable coming forward, I agree that there is a proportion of the people that may absolutely apply to, and it might not be insignificant. But then if you're going to say that, then the argument, it does seem to follow that the argument of actually people can get swept up in an idea or a trend, or I don't want to use the word fad because that makes me sound a particular certain way and I don't mean it, but I'm struggling to find another word to find it. But it's almost sort of like a viral behavior, if that makes sense, that children are particularly prone to. Yeah, social contagion that children are particularly prone to.
But that's for anything. It doesn't mean it's bad. If you have social memes or contagion, if contagion implies it's bad, I don't think it should be considered.
No, I'm not necessarily saying it's bad. It's like, you know, we social contagions, you get them all the time, and it's even down to some things as trivial as fashion. It's like, we had a social contagion that was going through my school when I was a kid, which was these things called pogs. I don't know if you had them.
I want to push back, like, really quick. Like, you're talking about maybe there was suppression. I'm in the United States. I don't know about in Europe. We still have trans panic laws, I think in like 26 or 16 in several states. And these laws reduce the penalty from what would typically be considered a murder to a voluntary manslaughter. So if you talk about suppression, we had laws that actively discriminated against trans people up until recently. Like the Civil Rights Act, what didn't protect trans people at all, and now they're starting to get protection under the Civil Rights Act.
I don't think. Do you mean to? This is genuinely me asking a question. I'm not being like belligerent or ignorant on purpose. Yeah. So because I'm not familiar, but so essentially, if a person who was a transgender person was murdered, the person who committed the murder, their sentence would be commuted, even if it was objectively a murder, a premeditated murder,
or less,
because they murdered a transgender person.
What law was this? I would like. I'm kind of curious on that. I've never heard anything like that at all.
So they call them trans panic laws. So what would happen is they would reduce it to, the sentencing to voluntary manslaughter under some type of heat of passion ruling. Like all of a sudden found out they were trans. So
is this normally, like the critical moment, like they've been dating or they're about to have sex?
I know what you're referring to, but again, I think that's more of activism than it is just. It's not. It's de jure.
Those were the laws. No. Those are the laws.
Or de jure rather than de jure. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, law is based upon past precedent, how prior courts have decided. So heat of passion sometimes has
right.
to
But
do with mental temporary insanity.
But you got to remember, it's the individual that they're looking at. And again, I'm not agreeing with it at all. But I'm just saying that there's something between de jure and de jure. What's it? De dictum.
Whether it's codified or whether it's based upon how the jury.
Is my mic back on now? By the way.
Yeah, but
yes.
I just want to point we can look it up regardless of the fact it is on the book how they interpret the law in states still today, and it's usually not first degree murder. It would usually be like a second degree murder. No, it would be first degree murder.
Well, same thing, a heat of passion. I mean, you walk in Texas and you walk in, and see your significant other with somebody else, and you kill them. It's mitigated.
Well, my understanding is that first-degree murder is premeditated and intentional. Second-degree murder is intentional but not premeditated, and manslaughter is not intended but accidental. Does that make?
In most cases,
it depends on the state. Yeah,
state laws change it.
Right.
We have federal law and we have state law. And state laws.
So first-degree murder just requires specific intent to kill that kills somebody, or a specific intent to cause great bodily injury that kills somebody. It doesn't require premeditation. Premeditation is usually what's required for the death penalty under the first degree murder. Really quick, Wesley. Second degree murder is.
Hey, I'm gonna. If Wesley's gonna be, I gotta take. I can't deal with Wesley, man.
Okay. No, don't leave. Come on, Steve.
Dude,
hang on.
Look, and I'm saying this with all sincerity. And people that know me for a long time, I cannot deal with mentally unwell people. I don't engage with them because they are not in their own frame of mind. And I've already told this to Wesley. I no longer have him on my program because I believe it's not a matter of choice. I believe he's mentally unwell, and I don't think it's appropriate to have conversations with somebody like that. But anyways,
good time to talk, Awa.
But we are done with the stream today anyway.
Oh my God! And
I would like to comment on a super chat before you shut it up.
What was that, Steve? What?
Go ahead, Samir.
And Anathema's been trying to get in for.
Sure.
I know. Let Shane go.
He's
Sorry,
my boy.
Shane.
Yeah, come on, Shane.
Man. It's nice to see you, man. Earlier I wanted to touch on briefly on the thing with the whole. What if I want to raise my kids to be straight shit? Like that brings me all the way back to conversion therapy and the whole thought that there's an implication there that there's something wrong with being gay, i.e., it can be fixed as if it's a problem or a illness, which it's not. I think we all agree that that's not the case.
No, of course not.
And then as far as the school stuff goes, mostly what I've seen is anecdotal. Obviously, there's been quite an unsettling amount of cases, I'll say, where parents do come to the school board and read books that are in the library, and then the school board representatives literally fucking kick them out of there, say stop reading that, it's not appropriate to be read in this forum of adults, which is crazy to me. And then just a few instances of teachers, activists will say, not being instructed to teach certain things, but coming into the classroom and putting their ideologies onto very young children without parents being aware of it. And most cases I've seen, they've been reprimanded or fired. So,
I wouldn't say most, but some.
Today,
I got to take off though. I got to take off. So, anyways, guys, thanks for this. Odean, we got to do this more. This was fun. I like this.
Yeah. If you do more debates, I'll try to do pre-shows and after shows. But you got to set up your redirect. You got to learn how to set up redirect.
I'll walk him through it if he needs some help.
I
Steve.
added you. No, I added him on my redirect.
Oh, okay, good. No, you gave me permission to redirect to you. Yeah. You didn't redirect to me.
Oh, okay. I'll figure it out. I know what you're saying.
Also, the founder of the Non Sequitur Show Discord. Unfortunately, there was a second breakup. We need a reawakening.
This is my Discord admin for the Non Sequitur Show. Actually, I don't use. You know what? I need to get back in Discord because it's a good I don't know what you call it.
I have it just parked there, man. It's chilling, all built and ready to go.
Did you watch the debate?
Which?
The one I just had. Why do you think you're here? It's the after show.
Oh no! Sorry, I just got.
This was
I didn't know if you're referring to something.
I think this was the most disorganized after show we've ever had.
It had
Normally,
nothing to do with the show.
yeah, I have these banners like, okay, what do you think of Rob's argument? Okay, Steve's argument. Do we need to presuppose God to have morality?
All great questions, but never got to any of them.
Gripper's trilemma. And then open discussion.
No, I just got home in time to pop in to say hi to for the after show. I didn't want to miss you. So
you did say you have a very formal structure on these after shows. So
I try.
I hope it's not me that's blowing it to bits because I'm obviously the novel party.
No,
we have a good time over here, Steve. You should come over and hang out some more.
Yeah, I get Whitson and friggin' to come to my after shows, and the Leo comes on. Oh my god. It always disrails, like completely off topic. But, well, on topic, but not my format. So,
hey, you can stick around. That fellow left.
With what
we have to go. We're ending the conversation.
Yeah, I've been sitting on my ass, and it hurts. And
can I just
get one of these chairs, man? It's rated for 8+.
Everybody can really quick go through. Steve, if you want to say goodbye, close out.
Thanks. I'll drop here. I appreciate it. I think the debate was good. Yes, I will claim victory. Sorry, Rob. But I like the fact that Rob came on to at least, have a conversation. It didn't get vitriolic. Whether you want to call it dumpster fire or not, subjective. It certainly wasn't by any real major. But I mean, it got interested. But I do think it was a good discussion. I think that people that watch it are going to enjoy the discussion. And that's what I want to have more like that of. So if you're a theist, Christian, younger creationist, flat earth, whatever, hit me up. You know where to find me on the Non Sequitur Show. Subscribe to the channel, and I will be redirecting back to here, and then we can do some after shows on this channel and occasionally on my other channel as well. Okay, sound good, guys?
Sounds good, brother.
And thanks, John, for moderating. You really did a good job.
No worries, but anytime.
Peace,
you know how to get a hold of me.
With Wesley left, but go ahead, Samir. You have any last words to say? Then I'll just go down the list.
No worries.
Yeah, I'll just say thank you, everyone, for the civil and constructive conversation. We didn't agree about every point, but we still respected each other, and that's why I like coming here. That's why I subscribe to this channel, and I plan on coming here more often. And hopefully we'll have more productive conversations in the future.
Yeah, definitely be here for my debate with Nadir on February 4th. Well, that should be
when February 4th, it's going to be an evening debate or in the middle of the day?
8 p.m.
8 p.m. Okay, that's great. That's great. That way I can catch it.
Yeah, go to my YouTube, check the lives. It's already scheduled for the pre-show here, so you can come join us for a pre-show. Max will be hosting it, and then you can go watch the debate. Come back.
It would be great if you can convince him to stop here for the after show.
He said he would.
Oh, that would be awesome. Great.
Yeah. Thank you, Samir.
Take it. Bye.
John, do you have any, share your socials, whatever you want to do, close out?
I'm not a particularly active YouTuber or anything like that. I follow Steve and a few of the YouTubers. I have an interest, and I do a bit of commentary on philosophy and stuff like that. But I'm not really into self promotion. I'm more of a follower than a podcaster, to be honest with you. No, I just I have a deep distrust of in the ability of our institutions of late. So with regards to what we were talking about with schools and stuff and teachers and their sort of wedded to I mean, I had to go into my daughter's school earlier today and explain to her teacher, who had marked some maths homework incorrectly, and it was mad. I shit you not, it's worth the minute that it will take me to explain this. She was doing a 10 times table, so it was 30 questions on multiplications of 10, and there were two questions that were repeated. One was 10 times 0 and the other one was 0 times 10. The answer to both being 0. I think we can all agree. My daughter understandably put the answer as 10. The teacher marked both of these questions as correct.
Really?
So given that, there was also another question that was marked incorrect, which was 1 times 10. My daughter had answered the question as 20, which was of deep embarrassment to me, because I can understand how she got the 10 times 0 as 10, but the 10 times 1 is 20. I don't know where that came from.
Well, 10 plus 10. Like,
yeah,
so
10 plus 10.
Same thing as 10 plus 0.
But yeah.
I
anyway,
can see it.
The teacher marked that. It's more forgivable from my daughter, but the teacher marked that one as correct as well. And this was on. So there was 10% of the questions that she marked incorrectly. She marked them in the affirmative when they should have been in the negative. So when it comes to quote unquote trusting teachers, I'm low trust. When it comes to quote unquote trusting anybody within an institution, just at the moment I'm very low trust. But with respect to the debate, no, I enjoyed it. It was good. It was civil. I'm glad Steve and Rob had it, and I hope that they're probably going to have another productive debate soon. I know they spoke about potentially having a debate around morality, which should be interesting.
Yeah.
It would have just been nice if Rob could have formalized his position a little bit more, because then we could have probably sort of sunk our teeth into it a bit better, as opposed to it felt like we were filling it out for him a little bit.
I was saying that, like, before you guys joined, to Dr. J, that I could have probably argued for Rob's position better than Rob did. But anyways.
Yeah. But you know,
it's okay.
You got to get a lot of generosity in sort of like interpretation, and just,
yeah,
you know, he turned up and he was civil. There was no name calling or anything like that, and you know that seems to be becoming a rarity these days. So you got to grab hold of those when they come along, haven't you? So.
And hopefully he learns from it. And you can see how I totally disagree with Steve and you on some of these issues. Like, to be like very like animated about it, and I am very, very animated about it, because I do think
of course
are exaggerating, but like, I still don't swear at people. I still want this open panel, and I'll have audience members that don't want to watch anymore because I allow people like Witsit on or something, or Steve, but that's not what we're here for. We're here to have these type of discussions. So I really do appreciate having you here, John. Thank you so much.
No, it's good. Thank you very much for having me. Enjoyed it.
Bye. And Isa, you have any closing thing to close out? I know you're streaming. What about you?
He might be
what about
AFK.
you, Shane? That's okay.
So, just on the last thing you said, there's always going to be pockets of people that don't fucking like group A, B, C, or whatever person from it, you know, whatever. So anyways, we're coming up on 10,000 members for Matters Now. Real quick, you know, it's all thanks to you guys, the members and the people watching right now. If you want to help support the channel, I pinned a message that you can become a channel member for literally as cheap as $1 a month, and it really helps things out. We have these shows all the time, and we have a lot of fun, lots of different guests. So, you know, consider it. And thanks for coming.
Thank you, Shane. And with that, that's the end of the show. Thank you, everybody, for coming. If you like the show, please consider subscribing. There's only 20 viewers now, but thank you very much, every single one of you. Please consider subscribing to the channel. Please click in the like if you liked what you saw today, and leave comments. Let me know what you thought. Like, this was some juicy topics here. It went way off topic. Maybe I'll have to change the title a little bit. And we do have channel memberships, so if you want to become a member, please become a member. It's only 99 cents a month. I was going to say a day. I'd prefer it to be a day. And with that, I want to close it out. Thank you very much for everybody for coming. We'll be back, I think, tomorrow. Oh, really quick, I have a show tonight too on MC Tune. So go to MC Tune Live and check that out. You'll see me there tonight to do a debate review. Anyways, until next time, talk to you all later. Bye-bye.